So this is some of what I'm doing at night. Well, I say at night, after dark. I've just come in from the barn. I'm a wee bit out of breath because I've been working. Yes, I know. I did promise myself some time off, but I just love being outdoors and I love working. So anyway, I have been knitting squares for another blanket because I've got a whole box. This is my little crate that I put on wheels, filled with wool. The jumper's finished and I gave it to one of my daughters because she really liked it. So I didn't want to put a picture of it up online. So I've got all this beautiful wool. A lot of it is Irish wool, like this one, this one and this. It's all called Donegal tweed. Don't ask me the colours or the batches because they're forever changing the colours and batches, and a lot of this is quite old wool. So I'm just using it all up. There's my mug, look, from last night. I had a mug of homemade soup. After my little post yesterday, just where I felt so exhausted, I made a huge batch of what I call my vegetable and spinach predominating the mix soup. And I topped that up, each I say bowlful, it's like a big bowl cup, as you can see. Each bowlful that I had, I put about a dessert spoon of B12 yeast flakes on top. So my energy has returned, and like my energy is quite volatile. If I'm not looking after myself, if I'm not eating properly, it's because it's very important when you're a vegan to ensure that you're getting all the right foods. And if you're just snacking and, food on the go, a bit here, a bit there, you're not really looking after yourself. So a jolly good soup is the very first point of call that you'd go to get your energy levels revved up again. So that's what I did, and they're revved up. I'm going to show you now what I've been doing outside. It's been beautifully dry recently, so I've been collecting up wood, kindling and logs that were cut. The logs were cut last autumn. No, last spring. Yeah. So I've got quite a lot of them to collect now from the woodland, and that's something I'll be doing today and tomorrow. It's a really good time to collect wood and to collect kindling, these beautiful drying days of spring. Because the wood literally just air dries, especially dead wood like this. There's a lot of wood now coming off the young ash trees that have all got the chalara. So it's just a matter of getting it up to the cottage. It's a pretty heavy load there. And before Jack's drinking from that little water container, which I have there for the birds mainly, but he likes that. Jack, come here, come away from that paint, it could be wet. We don't want you all green because we like you black and white. So I've been weatherproofing. Come out this way, darling. Come on, good boy. I've been weatherproofing some of the furniture. That's the chair which I normally have up in the stone circle. So I've started on that. You can see that garden paint, it's still going. Come here, Jack, come out this way. You're getting a wee bit confused, aren't you? Come on, good boy. And this little coffee table here, which I bought at a boot fair quite a few years ago, and don't really have room for it in the cottage, so I've been weather coating that as well. And then I've done both the benches over in the tunnel, and we'll go in here into the barn. I've been clearing out the barn again, in that I had a lot of stuff for the recycling, so I've moved that round to the she shed at the top of the drive. I've planted my clematis in that 3-tier tower, and I have a lovely sort of vision of that just swathing the front of the barn. It's just going to swathe it. Of course, my daughter said, "Oh, Mum, you're going to have problems with that because that's a clematis montana." It's going to be all over the place. I said, no, I'm going to keep it in check this time. So I thought, as it was just a few steps away from the back door, I could. We shall see. Okay. The birds are singing, which is lovely. God, I just feel so much more energetic today. So, I have been hauling up, you know, all the logs, you know, all the wood that was cut last spring. It was around the same time as the old hen house, the old playhouse was taken down by Tig. Well, Tig did some lumber work, some timber work down in the woods, and of course a lot of the first plantings, which of course is the willow, you know, because the willow is a pioneer species. It's a great first planter, just to start creating little channels in the earth, you know, with its roots, drawing up that water, drying out the land, and more importantly, the leaf and the wood drop. Never underestimate leaves and twigs. So, time to cut a lot of it down because I'm replanting. I'm second stage planting the woodland, which, as you know, I've been doing all through the autumn and winter and spring. And I've lost count of the amount of trees I've planted. It's about 40 or so. And all second stage plantings, like, you know, oaks and beech trees and birch trees, which are usually pioneer, but if they're coppiced, they can become second stage, really good woodland trees. So all this here is willow. I mean, isn't it amazing that all this willow has grown on land that had never been planted out before? Now, it's been stacked since last spring, so it's weathered a good bit. So what I'm doing now is clearing this area here. So I'm lifting out all the wood, stacking it on this side to make an area now to put all this coppiced willow into, which will remain in place then until next winter and should be beautifully dry by then. So there we go. Yeah. It's all good, healthy work, and it's all about management, isn't it? Woodland management now. My 17-year-old woodland. Ever giving, ever abundant, and a place for life. And here are the benches that have had their first coat of the weather paint, and the table has had a second coat of the weather paint. So I'm going to give them a day or two just to dry properly, and then give them another coat. So yeah, it's quite exciting, isn't it? You know, coming into late spring, early summer, and all this life just bursting forth, and that in itself is energising. And I've got the first little aubracia flowers beginning to bud. You can see they're purple. See that little bit of purple there? Now this is also spread of its own volition across these stones, which of course it just loves to, you know, dangle down in front of stones. And my lovely little nectarine tree. This is in memory of my father. My eldest daughter bought it for me. In memory of my father. And so, you know, my father was a very neat and tidy man. He really was. A very hard-working man. Left school at 13. Self-educated, taught himself to type and do shorthand and, you know, do accounts, everything. Just a very clever man. But very, very tidy. And he would never leave a task without tidying up. So, in respect to my father, I give the nectarine tree a jolly good tidy up over the autumn and early winter. And you can see that I've thinned it and pruned it, and it's on course now for a beautiful, lovely, abundant crop of nectarines. The trick is with nectarine trees that I've discovered, whether I'm right or wrong, but the proof is there to see, is not to have too many blossoms, or have your blossoms and then take them off, so the tree is not going to be overburdened with fruit, because as you can see it's on a pretty small rootstock there. Now, before I finish up in here, I want to show you something else which I've talked about in previous years. But it's very interesting, because a lot of people, you see, they say, oh no, I wouldn't cold compost, you've got to heat the compost up to kill all the seeds. I hate that idea of killing anything, actually, especially seeds, because this is all about Mother Earth wanting to be abundant. And if you look down here where I've spread my homemade compost, look, I've got little seedlings of parsley coming up. I've obviously got tomato seedlings, because they just don't seem to die off at all. But there's lots and lots of little parsley seedlings. Look, there's a pretty established one there already. And of course there'll be all kinds of flowers. I'm only just identifying the obvious ones at the moment, but there will be all kinds of flowers. And of course you can see here tiny little seedlings of the Aqualegia coming up. And I've even got some little bits of shamrock. Look at that. And that's because someone bought me some shamrock seeds and I kind of threw them around in here. My children make fun of me all the time for throwing seeds about. And then complaining about it's all overgrown. Oh, what am I to do? But that's just me, you know. I've learned to live with myself over the years. Yeah. I love looking at the earth and seeing what's coming through. It's just amazing. Oh, look at this, look. Lots more little, that looks like parsley, doesn't it? And you know, parsley can be so difficult to grow. Huh. So there we go. Shown you what I'm up to, that all is okay. I'll be posting this video up today. In fact, I think I'll go in and whilst making a cup of tea, I'll get this video on the very, very slow, tortuously slow upload. But that's fine, I'll go with that. My lovely compost. You know, everything starts to look so incredible in the spring, doesn't it? Look at that. And there's tiny little flies around it. Now these aren't midges, these are proper little flies, which again is wonderful because you're thinking of the chain of life. You're thinking of the ecosystem and the little birds that need to, you know, predate on the little insects. Now that's something I have in my mind to do, which is to dig up that primula and break it up and pot some of it because my daughter wanted some of that. Okay, there we go. Blessings to you all on this lovely day. International Women's Day. Don't forget about that. Blessings to you all. Now some extra footage I want to show you and let you hear all the sounds in the spring garden, Woodland, because it's just been a beautiful, beautiful weekend full of life and life sounds. Blessings to you all. I'm a writer. This is how I earn my living. If you want to support Bealtaine Cottage across social media, and it's across all the social media platforms with no advertising at all, there's a link to the bookshop on the website underneath this video. Just have a little peek. No advertising on the website either. And everything is printed here in Ireland and posted from Bealtaine Cottage. Blessings.